Azerbaijan has gained military control over an enclave within its borders after 2 days of intense fighting with Armenians. This marks the second failure of Armenians since 2020. On September 19, Azerbaijan's defense ministry characterized its operations as local anti-terrorist actions, specifying the use of precision weapons to target what they claimed were Armenian firing positions and other military installations within the area. In contrast, a statement from the unrecognized pro-Armenian government of the enclave reported that its capital, along with other cities and villages, was experiencing intensive bombardment as part of a large-scale military offensive. As of the end of September 20, the separatist authorities had reported that the hostilities had resulted in the deaths of at least 200 individuals, with 10 of them being civilians, while the remaining casualties were military personnel. Additionally, the Russian Defense Ministry disclosed that a number of their peacekeepers lost their lives when their vehicle was subjected to small arms fire while they were returning from an observation post. On that day, Azerbaijan announced that it would cease its military operation, citing an agreement with the separatist government, wherein the separatist forces had agreed to disarm and withdraw from their combat positions. Armenian Prime Minister Pashinyan stated that his government had not been involved in the negotiation or drafting of the ceasefire agreement. Furthermore, he asserted that Armenian troops were not present in Nagorno-Karabakh. He indicated that there was no immediate necessity for ethnic Armenians in the region to evacuate their residences. However, he also stated that Armenia was ready to accommodate as many as 40,000 evacuees if such a need arose. Ceyhun Bayramov, the foreign minister of Azerbaijan, stated that his country is committed to ensuring that Nagorno-Karabakh residents are granted all rights and freedoms in accordance with Azerbaijan's constitution and its international human rights commitments. This commitment includes provisions for the protection of ethnic minorities. The dispute between the two former Soviet republics over the Nagorno-Karabakh, located within Azerbaijan's internationally recognized borders and inhabited by tens of thousands of ethnic Armenians, is rooted in decades of violence and geopolitical rivalry. The surrender of Armenian separatists may accelerate the waning of Russian influence in the Caucasus, where Moscow's role as a mediator in the conflict has positioned it as a key player. Additionally, this development could potentially pose a risk to stability in Armenia, where Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has been working to forge stronger connections with Western nations despite maintaining a military alliance with Russia. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev delivered a triumphant address to his nation, concluding with the statement, "Karabakh is Azerbaijan," while raising his fist in the air. Leaders from the separatist government engaged in talks with Azerbaijani representatives on September 21, with Russian peacekeepers facilitating and accompanying them to the negotiation table. Since the 2020 ceasefire, Azerbaijan has consistently asserted its claim to full control of the entire Nagorno-Karabakh region as part of a comprehensive peace agreement. Azerbaijan's stance has included a requirement for the ethnic Armenian population in Nagorno-Karabakh to either accept Azerbaijani authority or relocate elsewhere. Armenia, in response, has criticized Azerbaijan's demands, characterizing them as a form of ethnic cleansing. During this period, Russia has struggled to effectively reduce tensions in the region, appearing unable to mediate a de-escalation of the conflict. In his September 20 address, President Aliyev pledged to ensure the guaranteed rights of Armenians in Karabakh. However, this message did not convince many, as it came from the leader of a nation that many Armenians perceive as having hostile intentions towards them, potentially aiming to undermine their interests. A significant portion of the tens of thousands of Armenians residing in the region vehemently oppose the idea of falling under Azerbaijani control. They point to various historical grievances and harbor concerns about potential reprisals for those who took part in the conflict against Azerbaijan. In his address, President Aliyev also stated that Azerbaijan intended to hold accountable the elements and leaders of the breakaway government, indicating a commitment to pursuing legal action against individuals associated with the separatist administration. The news of the surrender triggered a large gathering of thousands in Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. The protesters voiced their discontent with Prime Minister Pashinyan, criticizing him for not taking action and demanding his arrest. However, the demonstrators appeared to lack a distinct alternative leader and a comprehensive plan for the situation, often expressing a sense of resignation. Many were visibly disoriented and anxious about the well-being of their relatives in Nagorno-Karabakh. The loss of Nagorno-Karabakh has led to a re-evaluation among many in Armenia regarding the conventional belief that Russia was their primary protector in a region where the interests of major powers intersect. Baku's success seems to be influenced by Moscow's declining regional influence. Russia has encountered challenges in maintaining its traditional role as the arbiter of the Caucasus region since it initiated its military operations in Ukraine in February 2022. Furthermore, Russia has grown increasingly reliant on Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan functions as a vital corridor facilitating the transfer of military resources for the conflict in Ukraine, serving as a conduit between Iran and Russia. Moscow's backing for Armenia has indeed seen a gradual decline in recent years. Following his election in 2018, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has shifted Armenia's orientation away from Russia and sought security assurances from Western nations instead. This shift in foreign policy has contributed to the strained relationship between Armenia and Russia. As an example of Armenia's changing stance, Prime Minister Pashinyan declined to sign the concluding declaration of the summit of the Russian-led Collective Security Treaty Organization. This action was indicative of Armenia's increasing frustration with what it perceived as Moscow's insufficient support for the country. Subsequently, Pashinyan has taken several actions that could be viewed as acts of defiance towards the Russian president. For instance, in early September, Armenia declared its intent to provide humanitarian aid to Ukraine and engaged in a joint military exercise with the United States, commencing on September 11. In response, Moscow summoned the Armenian ambassador and criticized these actions as unfriendly. These moves underscored Armenia's efforts to assert its independence and diversify its international partnerships. Turkey, which has been pursuing a more assertive foreign policy, holds a vested interest in the regional conflict and aligns itself with Azerbaijan. While Turkey is a member of NATO, it has also made security overtures to Moscow and has acquired a Russian missile system, despite objections from Washington. The United States has consistently aimed to exert influence in the South Caucasus and other former Soviet bloc states. Meanwhile, the European Union, while advocating for diplomatic negotiations, has turned to Azerbaijan in its quest for energy partners to compensate for the reduction in Russian imports since the onset of the conflict in Ukraine.